this panel presentation. My name is Charles Kovacs, Director of the Center for Career Services here at Ringling. And on behalf of President Larry Thompson, Vice President Tammy Walsh, and the Career Center staff, thank you for coming to this presentation this morning. I gotta be honest, this is my favorite presentation of the year, because this is the time when we can highlight the success of our graduates and industry talk. What's going on out there? How are your sons and daughters going to be able to relate to it? What's the dynamic? And today we have some really good speakers to give you a sense of what some of that new dynamic is. So today we're going to hear from three professionals that reflect an increasingly popular trend in entrepreneurship in arts and design. Individuals that establish, manage, and thrive in running their own creative ventures and enterprises. When I shared today's topic with a parent, he was aghast. I said, what do you mean? Starting a company in arts and design. That's what they do in business school. Yeah, really? I gently reminded him that artists and designers have been running their own studios for eons. We can go back to the Greeks, Phidias, remember him? I went to school with him, nice guy. In the Renaissance and all those wonderful people. All the way through Disney, they were venture developers. Literature is full of that. Now it's called something new in the literature. They're called entrepreneurs. Not entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs. I like that. It's got a certain ring to it. Essentially, arts entrepreneurs create, while creating opportunities, jobs, culture, products, and services for clients. They help drive our economy, for-profit, non-profit, business of what? Yeah, if you're your own studio, you're an entrepreneur. Sorry. All right. This opportunity helps your students thrive. I'm not saying everyone's going to do it, but it is an option, and it's a growing option. Indeed, there are growing opportunities in art entrepreneurship. A recent report from Global Enterprise Monitor, known as GEM, finds that, ready for these numbers, 27 million working-age Americans, nearly 14%, are starting or running businesses. According to GEM, 24% of the U.S. entrepreneurs expect to employ 20 or more people in the next 5 years. In fact, growth in industries tends not to be in the giants, but in small and medium companies. Similar to other entrepreneurs, artists have a leg up in entrepreneurship because they have the ability to focus, move on an agenda, be proactive, take charge of their careers, not being passive, moving things forward and creating coalitions. They learn that here. According to research into the top skills that every entrepreneur needs, Ringling offers more through the business of art and design major and minor. She did a minor in it. And there are essential courses our students can take in finance, leadership, entrepreneurship, negotiations, program and project design and management, marketing, and a host of other critical skill sets. This morning, as I said, we are very fortunate to host a panel of successful entrepreneurs who generously offer to share their insights and adventures and insights into this creative option. I will introduce the panelists briefly. You have their bios, so I won't repeat it all. And then after a few closing words, we'll open to questions from you. And just a reminder, after the panel, I'll be doing another presentation on a peek behind the curtain, what goes behind the scenes technology services for your students. So our panelists, and again, I'll try not to repeat what's on there, but they're good folk. Christina Maksud was born and raised in Long Island, New York City. I'm from the Bronx. In 2012, she moved to Sarasota to attend Ringling. During her time in the motion design department, Christina created animations for the Baltimore Orioles, Camden Yards, Jumbotron, visual concepts for the brand Boyce Avenue, and she worked on tons of other things. She married her partner, Karim, and they started Mac Shoe Productions. I'm not going to repeat everything that's there, but I will say that her dogs had puppies recently. Jalil Saldul is the founder and CEO of Steamroller Studios. He also worked in the film industry as a professional animator for over 15 years. He graduated at Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania. He's worked at Rhythm and Hues on the Chronicles of Narnia, one of my favorite, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, right? He left Rhythm and Hues and went to Kiwiland, New Zealand, at Weta, And there he worked on The Water Horse, Prince Caspian, and James Cameron's Avatar. I coming out with the second one soon, I hope. Again, I'm not going to go through it all. You've got it in your handout. And finally, Mary Natolo. Mary is the founder and creative director of The Studio, an award-winning production animation company about to celebrate its 30th anniversary. She is widely recognized as a creative thought leader. She teaches, she's on national and international panels and review boards, and I must say, those two people have just agreed to join our Employer Advisory Committee. You'll learn more about that soon. So without further ado, Christina, it's up to you. Is that even right?
Good morning, everyone. Like I said, I'm Christina Maxud. I actually graduated here in 2016, and I studied motion design, which, for any of the parents that are still figuring that out, it's the general concept of taking animation, graphic design, and cinematography and putting it together. I was looking for many jobs when I first, in the process of graduating, and I had quite a few interviews. I think I applied for 70 positions, and I got 35 interviews out of it. And I got probably 10 offers, but none of them were exactly what I wanted to do. So I wanted to be able to have my hands on everything and be able to interact one-on-one with people. So after an interview I had in Chicago, I talked to my boyfriend, now husband, Kareem, about it, and he's like, we should just start a company. We should just do it. And I was like, all right, sure, that sounds fun. So, and we actually did look at Sarasota, Florida, because this is where we're based in, and saw that Sarasota does have a need for visual content marketing and needing to be boosted up. If you look around, you can see logos that could be redesigned, and that's what we're trying to do. So, in the past 2 years, we've probably worked with 70 plus different businesses in the area. And thanks to a lot to Ringling College and the Career Services Center, because College Central has definitely helped us get our foot in the door for many businesses, which for any of you students who haven't been on it yet, you should look at it to work through it, because I think I got many of my first freelance jobs through College Central when I was a junior. And then we recently actually just with a partnership, because my husband is a good friend of someone at Champs, we did a video for Champs Sports and got a video in Times Square. So I can show you that really quickly. How do I get to it? I think that's the demo reel. So yeah, that one. Thank you.
High tech, what a joy.
And then the next one shows the store. Yeah, you can play it. So Kareem, my husband, he filmed that in 3 hours and then delivered 15 different videos within 24 hours to Champ Sports, and this was up that following Sunday. So he filmed it on Thursday, had the videos on a Friday, and that was up on a Sunday. Wow. So, yeah. I don't know.
Let's move along.
Okay.
Sorry, what was the question again? No, I'm not kidding.
Tell us your story.
Oh, my story, sorry. Just to be brief, yeah, when I graduated, it was difficult to get a job at the time. It's still difficult today. That time because there was not that many animation jobs, and I graduated doing 2D, just drawing. I didn't know 3D. But I had to learn it real quickly after school. But luckily, I learned the tools that I needed to learn the computer. So got a job. My first job was Chronicles of Narnia at Rhythm News. That was tricky because I thought I was the best in school in my class, but until I started, I realized I knew nothing about animation. That's really where my professional training started. So did animation for about 14 years. And after, so I left Weta to go to DreamWorks to work on Rise of the Guardians and How to Train Your Dragon 2. And after the film Home, when I decided, I think I got really tired of this, it was stressful, it's a pretty rough industry to be in. Always having to meet deadlines, never be late, never be late. I can go a long time about that. So how did Stimulus Studios happen? That was an accident. I mean, we never planned, I never dreamed to open a studio. If you are dreaming to open a studio, you probably will never open a studio. I never dreamed about opening a studio. That's crazy. You told me that 5 years ago. You said, wow, that's nuts. But what I did was I always focused on my art. I always focused on what I did, and I wanted to always be the best. Still not there, or we'll never get there. It took me quite a while to understand I'll never be the best. But my goal was always to be the best, so I always focused on that. What happened was people around you will always see this. It's a very small industry. If you always seek status, or you seek promotions, or you want to be a supervisor or a lead, no one's going to like that, because they will go, why does he deserve this? So work on the why you deserve it, and that's all you focus on. That's all I did. I focused on just being good at what I do, and everybody noticed, hey, do you want to be a lead? Sure. Do you think I can do it? Yes, you can, because you've been doing it on your own. So that's how I carried myself. And when we started Stimulus Studios, that was the goal. We said, we're going to do a game. We're just going to focus on doing it really well. That's it. Did we want to be a studio? No, it was just 3 friends, in a garage. It was 3 friends in a garage. I lived in my buddy's basement with a 1-year-old and my wife, who was like, why are we doing this? We just had a great job at DreamWorks, now we're living in the basement. My mom goes, your career was, I was getting paid a lot in New Zealand, and then my career just went like this. Financially, I was getting paid less and less. My mom goes, why? I was like, well, I'm focusing on the art. I just want that to be good. Somebody will find me someday. So we ran out of money, doing the game, and we decided, well, let's bring in some animation work, and we put in some calls to friends that we knew in the industry, and guess what they did? They were like, oh, Jalil has a studio. The way he works, the way he's a professional, I can trust him with my project. That's what it was. We never did any marketing. They were like, all right, let's send him some work. So we started hiring people, and now 4 years later, we have 70 people, and we've been working on a bunch of things. And so when people ask, oh man, you guys are so talented, no, we just worked really hard, and and we were able to get there. So today we want to share this with everybody and make sure people understand. It's not we had a dream, it's more we allow it to happen. We were good people, and we worked really hard, and we believe in our team. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Nitolo, and as Charles told you, I am the founder of a company that is 30 years old this month, actually. So you could imagine that I've probably started 10 businesses in 30 years, because when I started, all our tools were conventional. There were not even computers to do this, and it was probably about 3 or 4 years into having the company, I got an Apple computer, word processing, I was working on it, and I got a program called Quark Express. And I designed a brochure in about 5 hours that conventionally would probably have taken me twice that time at least. And I realized this is the future. So at the time I had probably 5 employees, and like from now on we're gonna learn all these programs. And it's been a constant evolution of learning, and I think that was also alluded to about how this is not a journey that ends when you graduate. The good news for all your parents in the room here is that there has never been a more exciting time with more demand for excellent visual communications. It's never in my history, I never would have thought that I would be doing videos for Mount Sinai Hospital on how to teach whether or not you should get genetic testing to a low literacy audience, or I have done 2 museum exhibitions this year using projections, and I also have something in Times Square. Coincidentally, starting next Friday, something called Midnight Moment. All the screens in Times Square get taken over for the last 3 minutes to midnight with a project that I did with the Rubin Museum, which is a museum of Himalayan art. I'm about to go to Austin for a documentary film that I did about a half hour of animation for. So these are all things Never would have thought possible. My clients, when I started, were all advertising agency. I was working for gigantic brands. The opportunities are really endless. I think that it's possible that the only, I think, limitation on what your children can do in this is their ability to just see potential and not look at their majors as in a very limited fashion, and to understand that they need to look outside of the major, and that essentially their focus, their main job is to be visual communicators. So whatever they're doing, they need to think about it in that way, because there's so much information design. I mean, it is literally endless what you can do today with the career that you can start here. And I am a huge fan of Ringling. I think that students graduate with a really good skill set.
I have the first questions. All right, so we're hearing that it wasn't intentional that you set out to do this, Mary. Was it?
No, actually. I've been called by a publication an accidental entrepreneur. I had gotten a grant. I was working at a museum in San Francisco, and the grant was over, and I needed to come back to New York, which is where I'm from Brooklyn. And a friend of mine was like, well, there's a job in my company. It was a design firm. And at the time I thought, well, I'm going to take this job, and really what I'm going to do is I'm going to study and go get my master's in museum studies or art history or something, because I realized, even though I was working in a museum and doing all this work that I loved, I was not credentialed. I had graduated college with a degree in philosophy and comparative religions. So I was totally not prepared for an art career, but I can literally tell you that from the first day of high school when I got a train pass, I was at 5 days a week, either at the Met, the MoMA, and like I literally grew up inside of museums, inside of BAM, looking at dance performance. It saved my life. I grew up in a terrible neighborhood. I had 13 kids on my block were killed by the time I went to college. So I was saved by art. In any case, I got to this company and I was like, I can do this design stuff. And like the first week I designed some wine labels for a major brand. And I just had a facility for it. And I think, kind of inculcating myself through all those years of seeing things, I really understood composition, color design, without realizing that I was learning it. I just thought I was enjoying myself. So I started a career. And then the company that I worked for, I would say my bosses were psychotic. And I decided I would leave and I would just be a freelancer until I figured out the college thing, going back to graduate school. And then 5 years later, you have employees and a pretty good business going. So you're like, well, I guess this is what I'm doing. But it was literally without plan. It was something that just developed organically. And I think part of the reason why I was successful was because I approached things from a more standard art historical. I didn't follow trends. When I looked at typography or if I looked at color, I wasn't thinking in terms of like, ooh, garish 80s. I was really thinking in terms of like composition, balance, really the traditional things that people judge art by. And this was something I wasn't thinking about in my head, by the way, something I articulated later on. And then for probably the first 20 years of my business life, I basically made a business out of, and I'm not kidding when I say this, out of adding and subtracting. You can run numbers in your head, until your business is about 2 million or so, and then you start to realize, wait, I really need to figure this stuff out and get someone to help me with the number stuff. But I literally was like, okay, I made this, I'm spending this, I'm investing in technology, I'm doing, everything was literally very simplistic and primitive. And I think the secret to my success in general was and this is something Jill alluded to, is my informal motto was always work hard, do the best work, and be nice. And it's an industry that for a very long time was full of very dramatic people who were actually not nice. And so it served me well, and particularly I was a woman in a really male-dominated, still a male-dominated industry. So the nice part helped, I think.
So Julia, were you also an accidental entrepreneur starting like Microsoft in the garage?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, most of you guys right now are probably thinking, how does that work? And you probably have ideas of what you want to do, where you want to go, you've got dreams, but I can tell you right now, 95% of you guys will probably not be doing what you think you're going to do. But the one thing you want to make sure you have or you work on are your instincts. Right place, right time is absolutely real. I never went to business school, and I'm managing 70 people now. I'm learning on the job, but good instincts, and being a good problem solver is where you want to be. I graduated, I went to school for engineering before art, mechanical engineering, because my dad didn't think art will get me any money. He was wrong. But it's the accident is going to happen, but you got to put yourself in. I say put yourself in the line of fire. Make sure you always are ahead of the curve. Make sure you don't just compete. I never competed, because if I do, I'll destroy. But I don't compete. I work as a team, because these people I'm working with, will help me in the future. But I never thought of it that way. I never thought of it until now. In hindsight, when I look back, I'm like, wow, I'm glad I was a team player, because now these people trust me and send me work. But I never thought of that when I was in there. I just was a team player. I just wanted to go, don't compete with your classmates. Don't do that. Just work with them, learn from them. You'll be learning a lot from them stuff. If you stay on your own and in your corner, you're not going to grow, and people will notice that. There is no such thing in art as competing. No, don't worry about if he gets an A, you get a B. Learn from the person who gets an A. Share what you know, learn from, because what matters is the outside world. That's what matters, not here in school. So make sure you're not competing. Work as a team, work together. That real life experience, that will happen, and you will realize how much starts here today in school. So, did I answer your question? I don't know.
Okay, you had some BOAC courses under your belt, right?
Yeah.
How did they help?
Okay. So I would say that I didn't take the traditional business of art and design classes. So I didn't take accounting. I didn't take project management or anything. I took the classes that really dived into working with interesting clients. So I had a project with Disney Imagineers. I had a project with Cirque du Soleil. I had a project with Sesame Street, and we worked one-on-one with those executive producers of those companies, and to learn how to communicate better with them and understand exactly what they want. And yeah, they may have been mock projects, but they were really taken seriously. So that education definitely had led me to understanding how to work with future clients now. And I learned that communication is probably the strongest asset to owning a business, because if you don't understand what your client wants, then I don't know what's going to happen. So, but also, yeah.
Mary, what do you wish you had known way back when?
Oh God, pretty much everything. I don't know where to start. I mean, I think, it probably would have helped if I had taken some business classes. That goes without saying. But I think definitely I wish I had known that. But I think the other things that I think I wish, I'm glad I didn't actually know a lot of stuff, because in a way I feel like look, if you think of 30 years and you think of all the recessions and all the things we've weathered, and it's just like, if I knew too much, I probably would have given up. I mean, we had some amazing years, like crazy amazing years. And then we had years where we've had 2 years where we lost money. So that happens in a 30-year career. And I think if I didn't, if I knew too much, especially I would say in 2008, I invested in technology. I actually took a home equity loan and paid every person on my staff. I didn't fire anyone, in the hope that the world would survive, and it did. And 2009, which wasn't a good business year for pretty much anyone, was actually a really good business year for me. And 2010 and 11, all continued to be. So it was a bet that paid off, but no one would have loaned me money in 2008. They weren't loaning anyone money, so I just did that. I think that knowing too much sometimes when you're a creative person isn't actually that good. I think your intuition is going to guide you a lot. I'm not suggesting that you don't educate yourself on these things, but what I'm saying is creative people don't really operate on the same brain pattern as other people, and in many cases it's your intuition that really guides you forward. It's like different parts of your brain are working, and to Jilla's point, you're always competing with yourself, and that's what makes you excellent at what you do. And I do really believe if you are really excellent at what you do, you will succeed. There's no question to me, and I've known a lot of people over the years, and the ones that succeed are the ones that are constantly learning, open, and always wanting to get better.
How about you, Jalil? What do you wish you had known?
I think I'm going to echo a lot of what everybody said, but it's, I think, I'm glad I didn't know too much, because then it allowed me to take, risks and believe in my instincts. But, it's something that you just react to. Being reactionary is not good. People will tell you that. Don't just react. You got to plan. But there is a little bit of reaction you have to do, because the industry is so, it's all over the place. Things happen quickly. A lot of money are thrown into a project and then pulled out. We've had projects that we've spent $100,000 on and then we don't get paid. Because at least the type of industry this is. So, but the reason, I did take the job, even though my business partner said, don't take this job. Visual effects is not stable. You've learned, in the industry. And I said, no, but I want to, because that's a guy that has all power in the industry. If I work with him, this could open doors. And I took the job, and they ended up not being able to pay us. But so there was a big "I told you so." But what that did, though, is we did not sue the company. We did not give them any trouble. The owner of that company now owes me big, and he knows that. And now I have somebody that owes me, that is big in the industry. So I built that relationship with him, and he ended up paying us over a whole year, little by little. So he knows now my integrity and how I am as an entrepreneur. He trusts me now, and I trust him. He actually paid me eventually. So these things, a business person will be like, what are you doing? Sue them, get your money back. You can't work this way. You just never know. The one thing I do regret is probably I should have been more proactive, when I was studying or when I started my career. I learned this, and now I am very proactive. I always go and try and get things done. My first job on Narnia, I remember that clearly. I was with one supervisor, and he was like, "Hey, Jalil," he was on Lord of the Rings, and I was so excited to be working with him. And he was the supervisor for the Griffins the Griffins. And I was like super excited. Oh my God, I'm gonna work with him. We were walking down the hallway. It was me and him, and we meet this other supervisor, and his name is Eric. And he's like, "Hey Eric, this is Jalil. Jalil's joining us." And Eric goes, "Yeah, I could know the animator as well. His name is Tom. He's just joining us. So Jalil and Tom." And the two of them, Matt and Eric, goes, "Hey, so who do you? I think about getting Jalil." I was like, "Well, I don't know. Do you want Jalil? Do you want Tom? Let's do a coin toss." I should at that point say, no, I want to be on the Griffins team. And I did not. It was a coin toss, and Eric goes, "You're on my team, on the Centaur team." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to have horses, have humans. I want So Tom got to go on the Griffins. I got to go on the Centaurs. And that honestly defined my 2 years on Rhythm and Hues, because he went on to do flying creatures and went on to do more flying creatures, and I went on to do more horses. But that's probably my story.
All for the luck of a coin. I guess you weren't horsing around then. All right. Yeah. So
I was here, that's for sure. But I don't know, I feel like I don't know if there was anything that I wish I'd known before, kind of like what the other panelists have said. But I like learning, growing into what our business is now, definitely. And I feel like it just kind of falls naturally into place.
Yeah.
Not like a luck thing, but you work at it for sure. I don't know, I guess the one thing that I would want to pass on to other people that I have taught myself is, you know, get out there and actually, you know, have the initiative to go talk to people. Because I know that is probably what got us to where we are today, is I am out there trying to meet as many businesses as possible and communicate and be nice, and that definitely makes a difference to to those businesses if you have the first nice step forward.
Sure. So you affirmed that there could have been some additional BOAD enhancements, right?
Oh yeah, I probably should have taken more classes.
So what would you recommend for students who think they have an issue, want to go into starting and running their own business? What would you recommend for them now as they're here?
I'm definitely going to all the food for thought networking events that Career Services provides. But I don't know how to answer that 100%, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's it. Because like I said before, the biggest thing is just going out and doing it. And I know I do see my other peers having, you know, they're afraid to take that first step. Like I said, I applied to 70 jobs, and I know there were so many people that they applied to 10 because they were scared to apply to their dream jobs because they were like, I'm not gonna get it. And that's not what you should do. You should really just jump out and do it. And the worst answer you can get is no. And that doesn't mean that you can't try again later on, so.
Julian, what would you recommend for students who want to go in this direction?
I should have been thinking while you were talking, I couldn't think. Well, I'm gonna say one thing. I think being respectful is something that's lost a little bit. You know, now when you know this new generation, I'm a parent as well, and I can see there's a level of entitlement to our kids nowadays. You know, my dad used to hit me, and I'm not saying that's something we need to do, of course not. But I learned to be disciplined. You know, and I learned that I need to respect my elders, and I carried that, you know, in my career. You know, I'm not saying that's a good thing, guys. So today, when I'm with my 5-year-old, I want to make sure that I know how to teach her what's right and what's wrong. Don't walk around on the streets with your iPhone and your iPad on as you're walking around crossing the road. Don't walk on I mean, we all do it. All of you guys do it. How many of you guys on your phone right now while I'm talking? Probably quite a few. That's a lack of respect, and but that's the norm for us today. You know, I see these students, everyone on their foot walking. You're so unaware of your surroundings. You have no idea what's happening around you. When I was studying, I wasn't on my phone all the time because there was no such thing as a phone. So I was walking and I was studying the environment. I was studying birds. I look at birds and go, oh, look at that flap over there. And I kept processing that in my head. Today I'm an animator, and I wish I did birds, right? I missed that. But I would always study what's around me. And you see animators today, they miss that. They don't observe enough because I've noticed everyone's on their phone. Everywhere they go, they're just like this. They don't observe. They don't talk to people anymore. Human interaction, we've lost it. You know, I mean, you know, I'm in the bus and everybody's like this. I used to be talking, you know, to people around me. You learn about other people. So there is that sense of entitlement. And I've been, you know, dealing with all the millennials, you know, at work. I've got about 40 of them, and trust me, it is absolutely difficult to teach them how difficult the world is, because they feel they deserve, they feel they deserve all that stuff. I'm like, no, just because you got an A in class doesn't mean you deserve this. You got to work for it. You got to respect your elders. I have to say that.
All the parents are applauding.
So I will actually say a few things. One is, I think, really important is always to be thinking about your soft skills. I mean, to echo what he said, it's like manners. Your parents will taught you that. Not looking at your phone, you're an artist, you're supposed to look up. That's just like a prerequisite. But I think, you know, approaching the idea of being an artist always in a way as an entrepreneur, because you will be every single step of your career. The first job interview you have, it doesn't matter how amazing your book is, if you can't present your ideas, this is what you will do your entire career. You'll have to offer rationales, why you use blue instead of green, or all of this. So your presentation skills are something that need to be worked on tremendously. I teach a class at NYU. We take a pro bono client and we do work, and I have a lot of students who come from abroad and their English is terrible. And I make them present along with every member of the team. And I think it's very, very important. It's practice. You really have to practice. And I think along the career of every person who graduates this school, some level of entrepreneurship will be required, because even if you're a freelancer, you're essentially your own business. You need to manage your own thing. And every person who graduates from the school will probably, at some level of their career, either be a freelancer, a solopreneur, a something, something, something. So thinking towards the future is very hard when you're a creative person. It's not natural. That's your job as parents, and they won't listen to you, but they will internalize it. They will rebel, they will think you're being boring, but your job as parents is to really prepare them. And I'm sure you all know this, I have 2 kids who never listen to me when they're in college. So, but they do internalize it, and I think that you just need to keep reminding them of the fact that this is an expensive school. You need to go get jobs when you graduate. So, and the only way you will do that is to prepare for things that are outside of your discipline. You will graduate this school mastering your craft. I'm pretty sure that 75% of, there'll be lazy kids everywhere, but 75% of kids who graduate here will have a kick-ass portfolio. You will not necessarily be prepared to get a job. You won't necessarily have good presentation skills. You can't, I did reviews yesterday. Selling kids, I don't want to hire you. You're not going to work well with others. Your book is good, but you're selling. You need to look at me when I'm speaking to you. And when I ask you a question about why you made that decision, you need to answer me. So which means you need to think about why you're making that decision. And a lot of artists are just intuitively doing amazing things. They're not actually thinking about it. They need to actually think about why, because someone will ask them, whether it's me or it's Coke in a meeting or anyone, the potential employer, the person they're presenting to, all of this stuff. So that's the advice I can give you guys as parents.
All right, Mary, one more question. Where do you think art entrepreneurship, running your own studio business, is going? How's technology in sort of propelling it forward?
It's making it easier.
How so?
Well, first place, you can be a virtual employee today. I love the studio system the way it's existed since time immemorial. I have a staff-based company. It's very hard to maintain a staff-based company today with employees that you pay benefits to, especially in a city like New York, because you need to house them, so it means you need more space, everything. It's completely possible, and I've proven it to myself because I have an office in Chicago. I'm rarely there. I did not go once all year, and yet it functions really well. So it's very possible with technology today to have virtual employees, to have virtual offices. All of these things are possible, and they weren't possible a decade ago. It's possible. And I mean, also, there's a democratization of tools. So people can, when I cannot tell you what I paid in computer equipment even 15 years ago, compared to now, it's affordable, So I think there's a lot of ways that it's become just much easier to be a solopreneur or a successful freelancer.
What about you, Julian?
Well, I don't know how it used to be to build a business, and I still don't know today, but I know I've got my business, and I know it's working right now. I don't know if it's going to keep working for a long time, but I hope it will. Yeah, I agree, Mary. I think technology is making it easier, and I think being able to work remote has been, tremendous. I mean, for us, all of our clients are all over the world. They are in Europe, they are West Coast, East Coast. And we couldn't have done that, in the past. So now they can send us work. We can work and then send it back to them, and all this, via technology that we have today. So that's helping a lot. For us to actually be in Florida, we would have to be in LA or New York, where where it's extremely expensive, to survive. And for us, we are, I think, successful because we are in Mandora. Cost of living is much lower than than anywhere else probably in the world. Well, probably not in the world, sorry. In the US. No, I know the world a little better. And I think, having a philosophy, I think, has helped us a lot, knowing what type of business do we want, to have. We want to have a very family-oriented, business where, respect is important, and we nip everything in the bud. If we see someone disrespecting someone else, if we would call that person in and have a conversation. We want to make sure we push for that, and that's why it's been one of my main goals is trying to teach the millennials to be respectful and make sure we don't take things for granted. But I think having a philosophy is important. Knowing the type of business you want to have. It might not be my type of business, but having a vision is incredibly important. Are you going to be following what the old guys did? What are you going to take from it, and how are you going to adapt it to today? Always experimenting. My partner, I disagreed with him in the past, but now, I realize, well, no, I was wrong. He always wanted to buy all the new stuff that comes out, like magically, will come out with the new stuff, the Vive will come out, the Oculus Rift will come out, all the new technology. He always wants to buy them. I thought he just wants to buy it to play with them. Well, that was part of it, but he wants to experiment because what happened is our clients would come in and, hey, have you used the Oculus Rift before? And I'm like, I haven't. Oh yeah, the kid goes, I have. I've played with it and I've programmed on it. And the guy all of a sudden trusts us because we've tested, a tool that's new. So since then, we started buying everything that's new now. We're like, just get it. And the kid is extremely happy about it. But yeah, I think just. Hopefully that answers your question.
What about you in technology, Christina?
Well, I'll go back to Mary's point, as I definitely think it's way easier to kind of do everything all over the world. Last summer, my husband and I went to Egypt for 3 weeks. And we had a freelancer do a job for us, and he completely did it wrong. And we're sitting there on the Nile River at 3 in the morning redoing everything he needed to do. And our yeah. And it was, I am thankful for technology because we were able to travel with our work if we need to. And my husband and I are only 2 full-time employees. We have a whole bunch of freelancers. We have 1 part-time employee. But because of technology, we can do that, and we can further doing that and maybe travel even more and work with more people around the world.
You all mentioned about the international stuff. How much more international are your industries becoming, entrepreneurially speaking? What's your observation of that? And what recommendations you have for our students, be they international students or current students?
Oh, I can talk to that.
Okay.
Let me just say one quick thing
Yeah,
before I
you
pass
go.
on to you. Be ready to travel the world because there's work all over the place. Don't think you have to stay, where you were born. Be ready to travel because animation, for example, or art, is going everywhere now. Be okay to leave mom and dad. Be okay to travel the world. Mom and dad, be okay to lose your kid for a little bit. They'll always come back.
I can speak to the international thing, and I think this is really interesting, and I think this is why a school like Ringling is better than some of the other art schools, because kids are actually prepared to do research. When you do work for an international client, you cannot assume you understand what they would want, what the kind of images that they would need. You just can't. You have to do research. You have to look at what other people are doing. You have to read about the culture. You have to be very respectful, because it's actually a privilege for people to call you from another country and ask you to do a job. And I find that there are kids who graduate art schools that don't know how to do research. And so I'm not gonna do research for the whole office. You know, I could theoretically if I had nothing else to do, but you have to demand that they do that. And you have to demand that they understand the market that the work is going to be seen in. Because the most insulting thing you can do, the most disrespectful thing you can do, is provide a set of iconography for another culture that doesn't respect. And we also do work, like for example, we just finished a huge project for a major energy company, which is for a new innovation system that they're developing. It has to go to all their employees around the world. That's tens of thousands of people that have to look at it. You've got to understand what you can use for your iconography. And that takes research. So I do think Ringling is one of the schools that better prepare students to use reference and to understand how to do research. Surprisingly, not every art school does.
Research is key, I think, in all our majors. We have core liberal arts, and parents, you should be aware of that, and they are taught those skills. But how are those skills now? You mentioned for you know, your clients. What do you do, Mary, to keep current with your industry?
I get to the office every day around 7 a.m. and for 1 hour I read. And I'm not kidding, I do. I read to see what's new in technology, I read what's going on in the industry, helps me find new clients, what counts her in review, you know, all of these things are things that I do, but I do devote an hour a day to it.
And you, Julia?
Get an assistant.
Want to hire one?
Yeah, we had to do that just because we were, you know, I was trying to be everywhere, you know, at the same time. And that became very difficult, but I agree with what Marie just said. It's being, you know, you have to do it, a lot of it yourself, you know, because if you are the one running your company, one question I once asked one of my good friends, Kim Mackey at DreamWorks, because she worked with Jeffrey Katzenberg for the longest time, and I'm like, if you, you know, how do you learn working with a CEO? How do you learn working, how does he go? You will never lose touch with your floor, with the people that are working for you. Never lose touch, because you're gonna grow to a point where you will start to lose touch. You know, you will not be walking around. So every morning, we got 70 people now. I go and I do a fist bump to every single person. It's painful, but I'm gonna try and keep doing it. I say good morning every day, and I say goodbye every evening before I leave to every single one. So at least I make eye contact, you know, with that person. So, you know, and I think part of that, you know, is ingrained in the culture that now my leads are doing the same thing. They're learning from this. Now they are helping me to stay current. They are helping me to find things. They know how I think. They know I want to make sure that we are in the forefront of things, and so they do the research for me. I think it's if you have that culture and you promote this, everybody will follow.
And what about you, Christina? How do you keep current?
So I would say I do something similar to Mary, but it's on Facebook and Instagram. So I scroll through that about like 5 hours every day, just watching all different videos and different marketing tactics that people are applying to their different businesses, and how I can do that for our clients and make sure that they're still current and up to date.
Gotcha. Another question, I'm going to open up to the floor soon because I think our parents have some questions. Where do you see your company going, your companies? What's your vision for it? How are you keeping your competitive stance? You've got the research, you've got the communication, but how do you now translate concept, vision into reality, and what is your new projected reality? I'll start with you, Christine.
Can I think about it for a
Oh
second?
yeah, pass the mic.
Again, I think being somebody who believes in instincts, I can tell right now, I just said that, right? Don't have a dream because it will change. Well, I can tell you my dream today, but you know, I think it's going to change. But you know, we've been working on a bunch of contract works with a lot of bigger clients. But our goal is to be making our own stuff, you know, and we've started doing that. Which, you know, all the money we make, all the profit we make, you know, now we're putting it back into our own IPs. So we are working on our own game. So we want to make video games, but we are also working on our own short, which is an 8-minute short. We haven't announced it yet. We will be announcing it in December. Animation's almost done. It's a sci-fi story. You know, it's animated, fully animated. We're very excited to do that. So our goal for the future, at least the dream right now, is that we want to be doing our own feature films. We want to be doing our own TV shows. Really, for us, it's becoming a company that tells stories. I'm a storyteller at heart. Play D&D, you know, all day, all the time. Remember D&D players? Hey, love D&D, you know, and love, you know, all these RPG tabletop games, and storytelling, you know, for me started, you know, from that. And so my philosophy is we want to keep telling stories. So with all my clients, for example, we don't call ourselves an outsource company. We call ourselves, you know, a partner, an extended partner, because we want to be on the creative side of things. All of our clients today, when they come to us, I couldn't do that in the past because I needed the work, so I would say yes to everything. But the last couple of years, we've been able to, when the client comes over, we're like, well, we'll only take the job if we can have a creative input. If you give us this animation, you're hiring not just us to do the animation, but we need to have creative input. And we've had to turn down a few projects because of, there was a no, we will tell you what to do. We said, well, we've got another project that's allowing us to be more creative. So that's one thing that you can only do when you get to a place where you feel stable and have a lot of work coming your way. You can't do this when you start. So as a company, we want to keep that. We want to keep this creative process. And I don't know if it's going to be that way because I know how the industry is you know, it's very unstable. But as much as we can, we'll keep that.
Harry?
I'll say a couple of things. I think number one is we all need to learn how to tell stories shorter and better because we're all assaulted. This is by about 7,000 pieces of media every day. And in order to stand out, you have to be extraordinary. And you have to be brief, because even myself, who is in the business, and I am encouraged to actually look at, like, if it doesn't catch me in 10 seconds, I'm gone. And that's probably long. But I think, you know, what's happened to us in the past few years is something that I'm very excited about, because I've been working in the digital production space for a very long time. And the past few years, we've done, right now we have 2 installations, animation projects that we did with museums, and the stuff that's going on. And I'm actually really fascinated by stuff that takes place in physical space. I like getting out of the screen and into a place. We just installed a 27-foot long wall at Columbia University. These are the kinds of projects that are exciting me. I think, you know, to everyone's point earlier, we pay too much time looking at these little things, and we need to look up, around. And I think the next frontier for artists is going to be, you know, beyond the traditional murals, it's going to be things like projections and things which are really going to be very exciting. And it's interesting that museums, which are very staid institutions, are really the ones that are taking, I think, a very bold step towards creating these kinds of experiences.
Christine, what's your vision? Where are you going with your company? And then one more question, we'll open it right to the end.
So right now, my husband and I are in this place that we are taking in everything. So we're saying yes to everything. So eventually we'd like to be like Lil and be able to start saying no and say, hey, no, we know what we're talking about. We're educated, so let us do it. And then I know we want to start getting into more documentary work and being able to film more of that and doing more animation work, because right now we're doing local video productions for promotional work and we want to expand out on that.
Great. One last question, and it's up to you parents, so think of good questions. What one piece of advice would you give to a parent or a student who wants to start and run his or her own business? One piece of advice.
Just do it. It's really way more rewarding in my opinion. I have worked for other people before, not necessarily in the creative industry. I worked in many different retail jobs through my high school and college careers, which helped me actually learn how to communicate with people better, which is another piece of advice for you guys. Get a part-time job to learn how to talk to people. And then kind of, if you have the idea, just go do it.
Other than the whole respect thing and how to carry yourself, work hard. No, I'm not just saying this. Work hard. I mean, the school is not going to be the only thing that gets you that job. You're going to be here. The school gives you the tools, but it's all on you to actually use these tools properly to get out there. If I depended on young school, I would not be in the industry today. All my friends, when I was down in the animation studio animating, they were all going for one drink, one beer, Jalil, one beer. Like, no, I just want to stay here. I was older than all of them because I already had an engineering degree, so I knew what I wanted. They were all, still younger, so they did not understand how hard you needed to work to get it. School is only 2, 3, 4 years of your life, and it's small compared to your career. So give it up, give up everything. I'm saying it, no one will do this. That's why not most of you guys will make it out there. It's the reality of it. But if you listen to what I'm saying, you will make it out there. Work hard. I was working every night. I was putting about 100 hours in animation every week. Are you doing that? No, I was going to bed around 2 a.m. every night. I was the only one in my class that got a job. Crazy, right? But it wasn't talent. It wasn't. It was just hard work. I really wanted that job. I really wanted to work at DreamWorks. So all of you guys can do it. Give up video games, give up movies, stay in your bedroom, work and animate. Because guess what? Today I play games all the time. I own a company now. I can leave whenever I want. I can go home. I'm here today, but I should be playing Red Dead Redemption at home. Kids who know that. But I'm saying you will have the time to play video games. Seriously, you'll have the time to watch movies and have fun. But that 4 years will define you. These 4 years are absolutely important. Give up everything. Guess what? Most of you guys won't do it.
So I'm not going to say to give up everything, because I think staying curious and watching everything is probably, and looking around you is probably a big part of how you will be successful. But I do absolutely believe that you must work super hard, and having your own business is going to, no matter how successful you are, you're going to have really, really challenging times. So I think all I can say is that you should be prepared, but you will work really, really hard. But I think staying curious is very, very important, and that includes being aware of all the stuff that's happening around you. That doesn't mean like coming home blotto every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but it does mean to go and to. I think it is important to enjoy yourself and have a social life when you're in college. I think the friends and the bonds you make at this period of your life are going to be very important for you moving forward. But the working hard part is not. They're not mutually exclusive. You can do both.
All right, parents, it's up to you. Got girl with questions.
I have the first question because I have the mic. What I love about this panel as a mom, this really is a gig economy. You have to think solopreneur, freelancer. So I just thank you, Mr. Kovacs, for this, pulling this together and having, because I think a lot of times kids just think one thing, like DreamWorks, Pixar, Disney. So actually my one question is, who do you surround yourself with? Who's in maybe your mastermind, your inner circle? Is it just other creatives? Is it technology people? Who are your biz besties? Like, who do you exchange ideas with to sharpen your soul beyond the, maybe like the Facebook and kind of that kind of stuff, but just who is in your inner circle as business people?
My inner circle is mostly creative people, but it's musicians, dancers, it's filmmakers, designers who do clothing. I have to say though, when I think of fine artists, when I think about my friends, most of them are creative people. Sorry, I can't.
Oh no, that's good.
I don't have that many friends. I'm trying to think if I have any friends that are just in business, and I mean, I know know people, but I would not consider them friends.
I definitely hang out with all the alumni that I went to school with because we actually work with them still and our closest friends, we actually have a Friday dinner every night and we hang out and we enjoy ourselves and then we talk about projects we could collaborate on. And then I also do, because I work with everyone in Sarasota, I do hang out with a lot of the business owners in the area. Like I actually am going to go yoga with a whole bunch of people tomorrow, so that's really exciting. And those are people in my networking group, and we're just being able to do something fun and be able to discuss in there will help bring more future projects for us.
So hopefully when I say you're not going to make it, I didn't scare everybody. You will make it if you work hard. It's a great question in terms of, I think you need to surround yourself with people more than who really it is. And I think the brain trust is important because you will, again, it's staying current as well. I think that's a big part of that is every place you work, you'll found relationships, you'll build relationships. And I think, for me, every company, I probably can, leave the studio with 3 or 4 people that I can trust. Today, if I've got people that I can just dial quickly to just, bounce ideas, go, hey, you've seen this, how does that work, how can that help me? But, most studios I work at, I just make friends or colleagues, or they don't, for me, for example, my two business partners were not my friends. I would say now I consider they're friends, but don't just, start a studio with your friends, it probably won't work because there's a rivalry there, there's already an established relationship. Me and my 2 partners, Keith Lackey, who worked with me at Weta, he was just somebody who I saw was an incredibly hardworking person. And we were on a project together, it was 5 of us, and I realized that it was only the 2 of us working the hardest. And the day he said, hey, I'm working on a video game, and I said, I'd like to join you on that. I knew if I surround myself with someone like this that works really hard, my project will succeed. We were not really friends. Now we're friends because we've been doing this for 10 years. But and he introduced me to Adam, who's our 3rd partner. I did not know him, but he was a hard worker as well. And that's how this whole thing worked out.
All right, my wife asked the first question, now I get to ask the second. It's my wife over there. Our son has loved art all of his life. When he's 4 years old, I tried to get him to play football, but I threw a Nerf football at him and hit him in the head, and he said no. Then he drew a picture of it, but no. So I hope no Heisman Trophy there. But this message for Jalil. Jalil, one thing about my son, he's always loved cartoon animation, and he's been, he would draw pictures, watching movies. He's just been at this forever. But one of his dreams is to work for a company like a Pixar or DreamWorks. And so you've worked for those companies. What advice would you give to a student to get on companies like that, the radar screen? What are some things that they can do? Obviously, you mentioned they have to work hard, and that we get that. But there's, what do you have to do to get on their radar screen as far as potentially working for them?
Right. Where's your son?
He's with my children. This is parent weekend, and the kids are with them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I'm recording, so you'll see this.
Having a presence online is important. I think if, especially today, I would say start soon if you want studio animation. To get on that radar, it's difficult to get there, but everybody can get there if your work is really good. So how do they know your work is good? Is by posting your work out there. We didn't have that before. Before I would have to send my work out to these companies and hope that they would look at it. But today, I look at LinkedIn every day. And I talk to these guys all the time. Me and the guys at Pixar and Disney and DreamWorks, we talk to each other very often in terms of, hey, do you guys have any animators I can have at the studio? Do you have any potential students you're looking at that you won't hire? Send them my way. I take all these guys. So if you're on my radar, you probably will be on their radar as well. So I look at LinkedIn all the time and, oh, look at this animation, let me play it. Oh, that's cool. Hey, Renee, can you get in touch with me? Last night I was in the elevator and I just saw an animation. I messaged my assistant saying, hey, get in touch with that person, see if they're available to work. So now that person, if they're not available to work, they will be on my radar. Let's say someday somebody from Disney goes, hey, I remember this one guy who was really good. So having a presence is good, making sure you post your work out there. Now it's amazing that there is this whole online thing. I am on Facebook, I never use it, and I should, but I use LinkedIn. So probably Facebook is good as well. Put your work out there, have people see it. So that's probably my advice.
To clarify, you
I'm-
work with the technology, the LinkedIn, the Twitter, and all that.
Yes,
Put their stuff out.
Put your work on there. It's not just be on there just to talk, but put your work on there, making sure that people can see it.
So I'm going to take a presidential prerogative here, because I'm listening to this, and I'm listening especially to this panel and how great they are. And one of the things is how does your student stand out for these companies? The portfolio is obviously the major thing that any company is going to look at to see what kind of skill set and work that they have. But you remember, one of the key elements has been soft skills, about the soft skills necessary. And I kept thinking, well, I haven't heard this yet, but I want to mention that one of the advantages of being here at Ringling is we have probably the most robust student life program. So it's being involved in things other than just being in the lab. That's how you help develop further those social skills, those soft skills that maybe not are so natural for the students because of how they're made up, like the football. But that's great, but it's a way of helping to develop it. So I would encourage having some engagement in that.
Good point.
And I just want to say too, based off of that, that's a great point that Dr. T brought up, because the last Wednesday of November during the lunch hour at 11:30 a.m. in Library 113, there's an opportunity for your students to hear from other students that specifically got hired because of their extracurricular things like volunteerism, like experiential learning. And we actually had students that heard from their employers, it was between you and this other guy, but you did all of these great things in student life. So career services, which I'm a part of as well, I'm Alejandra, and student life and volunteerism are putting that together the last Wednesday of November. So your students will receive an email about that to hear more specifically how that worked for those particular students.
Good morning. Thank you for the time. Really informative session. My name is Pedro Portet with Microsoft. I'll caveat with that. There's tremendous amount of technology investments in augmented reality and virtual reality. I'd like to get your point of view on how you see that fitting into the future of whether it's computer animation or graphic design and overall the work that you're doing.
I'll take that. I think augmented reality is here and it's useful and everybody needs to know about it because these are literally augmenting experiences, right? That's a no-brainer. For me, until the headsets are not those headsets, virtual reality is just going to be like a toy, a fancy toy. That's coming soon. And when it does come, that will be amazing, and I think that will give us the experience to just be anywhere, like be walking down the streets and have a guided tour of Florence. I mean, in a beautiful way, an artistic, it's endless what can be done. But the headsets, to me, and maybe this is my age speaking, I just can't.
It's terrible.
And we've done projects, I just can't. It's awful. It's a very alienating thing, so it makes the experience of technology so private that it's not taking advantage of the opportunities. I think the opportunities, so much of what we experience in culture and art is a shared experience. You see it with other people, you're experiencing it, which is one of the reasons why I'm really fascinated by the installation space. It's like to watch how people experience things in groups is one of the most amazing parts of being an artist and being a creative person, to just see how that exists in the world. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think VR is the future. I'm not current with VR, right now, and that again is because I feel like when I wear it, everyone's watching me being an idiot. But I feel like that's where we want to go because look, TVs are getting bigger. That's because of being immersive, right? This whole surround system. Why is audio all around you? Because we want to be immersive. That being immersive, leaving the world that we live in. Try to go into a different place. That's who we are as humans, right? We love that. And I think that's VR, right? That's the goal. So I might not be living it today, but I think it's going to happen. I think that's where we're going. So to what Mary's saying, the moment the headsets become wireless and all that stuff, where we can be private in my room and be in a different world, I think I'm in, and I feel like that's where we're going. So I absolutely believe in it. I think movies are going to be VR. I think you'll be able to watch a movie. Today I've watched Back to the Future probably 100 times. I know every pixel, in that film. But there will be a time when you won't be able to do that because every angle will tell you a different story in a film, and it's going to happen. So yeah, I believe VR is the future.
More questions, please.
Hi, Jalil. Earlier you mentioned the pressure of meeting deadlines. With our students being very artistic and a project is due, with the artistic mind, it's never perfect, it's never ready. What advice do you have that we as parents can give our young artists to let them know that this, when to say stop, that it's the best you're going to be, it's the best you're going to be able to present at this time without them feeling like it's a failure. Or not a failure, but not the best they could get at. What is it you put in your mind to say this is going to be presentable? Is there any advice for that moment?
I know in the industry, most people think it's never ever completed. It's what I can do right now, and you have to. Artists have to learn how to be able to balance that out, be able to meet those deadlines, and later on, if they want to be able to experiment more on it to make a different task for themselves, they can. But how to teach that to themselves is a very, very hard discipline to do. It's a lot of practice to be able to be like, yeah, I just gotta hand this off, even though I want to spend another hour at it. But I know it needs to be due right now. I've seen a lot of students and peers be able to, they miss deadlines and they lose their jobs or they get a failing grade because they just don't hand it in because they think they can put another hour into it. So I suggest that they have to be able to be, okay, this is good enough, I have to hand this in now and I can work on it later.
Yeah, I would say the work is never done.
Yeah.
So you can deliver a job, you always know there's something you could have done better, and that's amazing part of being an artist, your mind is still going. But I would say and I say this to young people that work in my office all the time, use math. If you know it takes you like 2 hours to do a layout and I want 4 of them by the end of the day, then you can only take 2 hours. At 2 hours you have to stop, otherwise I'm not gonna have 4. Or you're gonna take 2.5 hours, like one's gotta be faster. So it's literally like 10 seconds a day or 4 seconds, like you have to work to your schedule. So your schedule is something that you just use math to figure out. And if you are basically in a situation where this thing is taking long, you have to learn to articulate it. So for example, let's say I have an expectation of a motion designer to do X amount of seconds a day. I might not realize that this particular thing is presenting other problems and this amount of seconds is unrealistic. Their producers are literally giving them a timeline, like by the end of the day, this needs to be done. If it isn't, it's not possible. They have to be able to plan their day ahead and know, well, because this is, something that I'm doing that's infinitely more complicated than what I did yesterday, I can only do 5 seconds. That's planning in their own head. That's not like just keep working until it's done. They have to plan their day every single day, and I just always say, like, use math. That's it. It's like you've got to be finished by, if you're doing 5 seconds, by half the day, you should be finished with 2 of them at least, and before, or you're gonna have to stay late. So That's it. It's really, it's just discipline.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. Discipline is one thing that I always talk about, especially at the studio. Crazy question. Last night, one of my supervisors at work was sending a message about that some of our animators missed their deadline, and talk about that. A deadline is real life. I think, there is, you do art to be an artist, and then you do art as a commercial artist, I think on the commercial side, you need to be able to meet deadlines. So, but the trick about deadline is, again, do the math, plan ahead is very important. Once I told one of my animators, brilliant animator, I said, I gave him a shot and I said, okay, you need to get this done. It was Monday and I said, it needs to be done by next Monday. So he looked at it as, I've got a week to do this, right? But I said, it needs to be finalized on Monday. What that means is it needs to be ready to be rendered to go on screen on Monday. So now as an artist, it's what you need to make sure that it's perfect on Monday. What that means is, exactly, by Tuesday, you need to have your first pass of blocking to get it approved, to get the performance approved. By Wednesday, you need to get your first pass of splining and polishing. These are all animation terms animators will understand. On Thursday, you need to get your first review with the director. He needs to tell you, well, there's a performance change there because the dialogue is changing a little bit. So we need to change the facial expression. By Friday, you probably have to restart a little chunk of it. All of a sudden, 1 week is 1 week. And as an artist, you need to plan for this. You can't just be like, I got 1 week, so I won't show until Thursday. And then Thursday, what happens is you show it, it's all wrong. The director goes, wait, no, this is all wrong, start over. Now you've got 1 day to do a whole week because you did not show. And you might be like, well, I got a note. Well, that's not how white production will remember. They'll remember you did not show for 3 days. And you were blaming this on getting a note. The note is normal. You will get notes, so be ready for it.
One last quick question, please.
Okay, I have a two-part question. When you guys first started your business, how did you get clients? And the second part is, once you had the clients, how did you work up the contract? Was it by the schedule, a 50% deliverable, or how did you work that out?
So I know that I had a harder time with my husband starting out our business because we didn't have any connections compared to other people who may have been in the industry for 10 to 15 years. So I hustled and I met a lot of people in the local area. College Central, like I said before, definitely helped us, which is a job board that Career Services offers. And it's other local people who are saying, hey, I need this for my business, can you please help? So that definitely helped us create our first portfolio. And then, yes, to the second question, we create a whole schedule for them based on exactly what they need. We started from pre-production, production, and post-production, and final deliverable, and making sure not only do we have a schedule to follow, but the client has a schedule to follow as well, so that we are able to manage other clients' times as well. So like, I need a revision from you by this date to understand what notes to have while I can work on something else. And then yeah, then we would also ask for 50% deposit rate, and then 50%, the rest of the 50% at completion.
The way I got clients when I started is I would literally take a walk over to an advertising agency and make friends with the person at reception and ask for a list of all the creative directors and producers. I mean, that's how it was done 30 years ago. Now you have LinkedIn. So if it's like, and it's so easy because you're like, I want to find the CMO of Tide because I have this great thing to pitch. I just type in CMO of Tide. And it's gonna, like, these tools didn't exist before. So if you decide you want to pitch something to someone, or if you decide that you have something relevant for someone, or you want to find a producer, you can 99% of the time find these people on LinkedIn. So it's much easier to be strategic about who you want to reach out to. But I think one thing that is really, and you can probably find templates for this online, I think every project, no matter how small, needs to be approached with a statement of work. And the statement of work needs to be like, I promise to do this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing like if it's for a website, I'm not doing your programming. I'm only doing your video. Like, it includes this, it's 30 seconds, oh, all of a sudden the client wants a minute, that's not in the statement of work, like, none of this can be left to, like, handshake. And then you also put your calendar in, and you put a statement at the bottom that says, deviations from schedule may result in overages, and you make the client sign it. Now, the bigger the client, the more likely that they will come back with their own statement of work, which will be not so favorable for you, but then it's a dance. It's a negotiation back and forth. But there are certain things you have to hold to, and one of them is schedule. Because people go off schedule all the time, and then you're like, well, I've scheduled a freelancer who now I'm paying for, in your case, right, use freelancers, and we have nothing to do for a week. That is an overage. So all of these things just need to be put in writing. I'm sure there are templates online for a statement of work for things like this.
Charles?
I agree. I think, can I go? Or-
We have to close soon.
Finish up.
Yeah.
Real quick, I would say, make sure you know who your client, you know how they think. You know, your clients, it's not about what you need to do, it's about what they want. So you have to make sure you understand the psychology of each client. You know, for me, if my client says, I think this is slightly off, no, that means it's completely off. You know, if they say it's slightly off, they are trying to be nice, they need you to do the job, but you need to understand how they think. My clients, when they send an email, if they don't get a reply in 1 hour, there will be trouble. You know, all my clients need to have an answer within the hour from my team. Somebody needs to answer. I read all emails, all messages. I don't reply to all of them because I know someone will, but I make sure if somebody does, because my client trusts that. Always do what you say you're going to do, or communicate it. You know, if you say you're going to deliver something, but you can't get there, you will know that 2 or 3 days before. Don't wait till last minute and say, sorry, I couldn't get it done. No, you gotta let them know so they can plan, they can get there. Again, your brand is the most important thing there. You know, make sure you have a good reputation and make sure you maintain quality in your work. Don't just take a job and do it blah because, you didn't pay well. You will have to bite the bullet, at the start, do the job for a little less money, but you're building your reputation because that client will vouch for you to another client. A lot of our clients, we've got them because they've been talking to other studios. So that's, you're building a brand, so make sure you have a philosophy and you have a quality that you want to maintain.
We could be here all day and learn and learn and learn, and I think we learned a lot from our panel of entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Charles, and this phenomenal panel. Really appreciate your time and effort and great answers and participation, great feedback. So parents, share that all with your students. I saw a number of you taking good notes there and filming and all that kind of good stuff. Well, now it's time for the workshop. So we have a few minutes to take a restroom break, grab a beverage, and then we have student leaders out front with signage with the name of your workshop ready to lead you to the location. Some of the workshops are in this